Everyone. Welcome to our session, Beyond the Status Quo, How We Innovate Daily. My name's Travis Hunt. I am the LMS administrator here at NICC. And related to innovation in particular, I also chair the college's AI Alliance, which hopefully you've heard of that. But if not, that's our artificial intelligence steering committee at NICC. And just a shameless plug before we dive in today. If you want to join in the conversation about AI, we're having some fun, sharing some stories, use cases, etc. You should join our AI Alliance group. It's in my campus. Just simply search for AI Alliance there. And today, I'm definitely excited to dive into one of NICC's core values, which is innovation. But before I do that, Seth does have a few housekeeping announcements to share, so I'll turn it over to him for just a moment.
Thank you, Travis. Welcome to the call and welcome to the rest of you. When Travis agreed to do this session, I was so pleased just because he has so much to offer. It's such a timely message. And I remember an email exchange between the two of us, and I asked him for a title to the presentation. And I said something like, "Don't worry about perfection, just send me what's at the front of your consciousness." And he comes back with Beyond the Status Quo, How We Innovate Daily. I thought, that's pretty close to perfect. That's exactly what we're asking for. And so I'm looking forward to that. As we get started, I just want to point out a couple of upcoming training dates. If these are some events you maybe have heard about, and if not, that's fine too, but just to kind of move your attention after the call at some point to the News Hub. We have a book discussion going on, a book written by Trevor Noah called Born a Crime. We had our first conversation yesterday. Terrific. We have another one scheduled for the 28th from noon to 1, and I would certainly invite anybody on the call or anybody that you work with if you want to mention that to them. We're also going to do a pair of introduction to process mapping sessions this fall, putting people in a position to really understand what process mapping is as we look to transition to 2026 and making some process improvements in our various areas. We'll probably be using process maps quite a bit. If that's something that you're not familiar with, or maybe you know a little bit about it and always been a little bit curious about that, we're going to have a pair of face-to-face sessions in Piasta on the 17th of November, and that's a conference center, and then up in Kalmar on the 24th. Both of those sessions are going to run from 11 to noon. And then finally, our support staff retreat on November 13th. If you're a support staff person and haven't had a chance to register for that yet, I would encourage you to do so. Looking forward to a terrific presentation there. And then finally, Travis mentioned his topic. We're going to have two more topics related to the RISE values and our fall values speaker series. And I can tell you that on November 10th, our own Dawn Fleming will be describing her work with veterans and that service interface. And then also in December on the 4th, down here in Piasta, and then on the 9th up in Kalmar, we're going to have our labs for Varick and Montana to show us what's going on in the esports world. And so you're going to hear more about that, but just so you know, date-wise. All right, Travis, I promised I would keep that to a minimum. Thank you for your patience. At this point, I'll turn things over to you. I'll take attendance and listen with the rest of the group.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Seth. And this was not on my outline today, but Seth had asked, related to attendance, that everyone put their name in the chat. But before you do that, I actually want to try something just on the fly here because we are the innovation group. I'm actually going to take a screenshot of the participants list. I'm going to put it in Gemini and see if it can help us with this task. If it fails miserably, then I'll have you all put your name in the chat. So let's try this out. I'm going to just take a quick screenshot on my other screen here and see if we can do this. So what names are on the list? Here's my screenshot of the Zoom participant list. Let's see if it gives this to Seth in plain text. It's looking promising. Maybe it missed some people, but I'll drop this in the chat for you, Seth, and you can match that up with your list. There we go. How's that for innovation?
Perfect. Thank you, Travis.
Yeah, no problem. So today, I definitely want to lean on all of you to really help steer the ship. I'm going to ask you to unmute, participate in the chat. We also have a word cloud activity. So warm up those vocal cords, stretch those typing fingers, and we'll have some fun today. If you did come here for nap time, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong place. That's actually at noon, so you're a little early for that session. But all jokes aside, let's go ahead and get kind of warmed up today, and we'll use the reactions button. We'll use the hand raise. Who has seen this graphic on the screen before today? Who has seen this? Maybe in a handout out on the strategic planning website. Get some hands. I got some thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you. I am glad that you have seen that. That, of course, Aaron Shaw and the Strategic Planning Committee worked very hard on putting those materials together along with the marketing team. I am going to put a link in the chat out to the Strategic Plan website. So if you need a copy, maybe you lost your copy or don't have one, you can definitely print that out. I encourage you to keep it on your desk. And I have there we go. I have my video blurred, but I do have this right next to me all the time, so I can reference it. So today, we're going to be talking about Innovate. And the description that's listed on the card is we embrace creative solutions and forward-thinking strategies to excel in a changing world. And before we get into Innovate, I do want to just promote there is a QR code on the screen, and maybe someone in the chat can help me out with providing an actual link to that as well. But we are spotlighting respect at NICC. We do have a respect story wall where you can share your story out there. So definitely take advantage of that. Again, the QR code's on the screen. I'll have that again at the very end, and hopefully someone can drop the link in the chat to that resource as well. So innovation, I think oftentimes when we hear the word innovation, our minds kind of jump to big, expensive projects and technology and those types of things. But today, I really want to kind of challenge that idea and really push that we firmly believe here at the college that innovation is something that you practice every day. It's kind of like a culture shift. You can practice innovation in just small and manageable ways each and every day with that end goal of better serving our students and our community. I think it's imperative that we just never forget the student with anything that we do. So let's start with just a little bit of collaboration here. I'm going to bring up a activity, a word cloud activity, as long as I can find my correct screen here. And I'm going to put this link in the chat as well. Or you can just head out to menti.com and you can use code 7868 7147, or you can just simply click on the link in the chat and that should take you there. And what I'd like you to do is just share the first word that comes to mind when you hear innovation. And we're going to build out a word cloud. And we'll see those kind of pop in here as we go. So I'll give you just a moment to do that. This is great. New ideas, growth, being creative. Absolutely. So let that keep growing just a little bit more here. Yeah, we are definitely on the same page. Innovation is absolutely about that growth and responsiveness. Silicon Valley, interesting. Like it. I will have a nod to that later in the show. Perfect. Let me toggle back to my slides here. Thank you so much. We'll definitely share this word cloud afterward as well, so you can reference it. And how about the why? Why do we innovate? And, the title of the session today it begins with, beyond the status quo. Why is innovation non-negotiable? Well, the reality is the world around us continues to evolve and continues to change. Student needs are changing, technology is changing rapidly, and those workforce demands are changing along with that. And ultimately, if we fail to innovate, if we fail to change, as was mentioned in the word cloud, that status quo is just a recipe for falling behind. We need to keep up with the trends as, we need to just keep meeting those student needs and keep progressing things forward. And some of those risks, specifically are, we don't want to have obsolete programs. Certainly we don't want falling enrollment, lower student success metrics. All of those risks directly impact what we do at the college and they impact our specific strategic priorities. So innovation really is that engine that keeps all of those strategic priorities moving forward. Um, so on the slide here, just kind of a recap of what I mentioned. If we're standing still, we're just falling behind. We need to just keep up with that and continue to have innovation just as a culture shift, as a standard practice in our daily work, because that continuous innovation just is not optional. So let's take a look at what innovation is and what innovation is not. And I'll start with the is not. Certainly referenced this earlier, but innovation is not always something that's expensive or large in scale. It's also not a special project. We don't have, at least to my knowledge, Aaron, correct me, we do not have a strategic project lined out there that just strictly says we're going to innovate some stuff. And innovation is not always someone else's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility. But what innovation is and what we really want to practice today, and we're going to share all types of examples with one another, is that innovation is something you practice every day. It can be something just really small, or really small and manageable. It doesn't need to be large in scope and really just owned by everyone. And again, you're going to see the word student quite a bit on the screen today and brought up. We need to be responsive to those student needs and ensure that they have what they need to succeed. So now it's your turn. I would like, let's go ahead and you can type it in the chat or you're all welcome to unmute as well. But I'd like you to unmute and just share some examples in the past few years that you've seen innovative ideas at NICC. And just while you're thinking about that and while you're typing, I'll lead us off with a little bit of an example and some shameless self-promotion of the hard work of accessibility services and the Department of Instructional Innovation and Design here at the college. Um, this Accessibility Hub was a 2025 D2L Excellence Award winner. And the Accessibility Hub is basically a custom-built resource in Brightspace to serve our students with accommodations, and it really streamlines the tracking of that and the communication pieces that go involved. So for students, main benefit there is just really quick and easy, fast access to support when they need it most, and an opportunity to kind of go through the whole process of accommodations, which can be challenging to get through from start to finish, and certainly from the staff side as well. It's challenging to keep up with that, provide access to alternative forms of textbooks and things like that. So the Accessibility Hub is really kind of broken down a lot of barriers related to that. So now it's your turn. I'll turn the mic over to all of you. What would you like to share as far as some innovative ideas that have come forward at NICC recently? Not everybody at once.
Share one thing, Travis. Um,
Perfect. Thank you.
One of the things that we're working on in student services is moving some of our paper forms to e-forms. So one example would be that our withdrawal form. So right now the students would request a withdrawal via email. or in person, and we'd have to print something off. Then we fill out the form. Then we send it to somebody. Then it's downloaded. Then it has to be processed. Then it's uploaded again somewhere else. And I was like, oh my goodness, we're creating all of this extra work when we could just create the form in the place where we end up putting it in the first place. So has it created a lot of extra work to try to get that to that point? Absolutely. But I think when we finally get it done, it will not only benefit the students, but it'll benefit our staff with hopefully less work.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic example. How long has kind of the implementation of something like that taken, and how many people have been involved?
Don't ask. You mean from the first time that we asked to have it done? It's been a long time. But I think sometimes like when you're dealing with with programs, like the group that had the idea, we're not the ones that understand the actual program that we're asking, it to do. So a lot of it has been like trial and error, with like, well, we don't understand exactly what we're asking. And then somebody else who is running that program is like, well, we could do this, but so it's been a lot of back and forth. I say it's been way over a year that we've been trying to get it done. But that's not part of it is just, I mean, everybody knows here at the college, like all of a sudden you start school. Like I felt like we just started school a week ago. Like, didn't classes just start last week? And now we're already registering for spring. So time gets away from us because we're constantly moving forward with our normal everyday college things. And so doing something new and extra, you have to find time within that process to do that. So that's been kind of hindering us.
Love it. Thanks so much for that example. And it's also a great reminder that a lot of innovation is collaborative, working with one another, to, you had referenced, trial and error. Part of innovation is making mistakes and learning from it and expanding on it, and having the diverse perspectives of working with the other departments and other areas of the college kind of brings it all together. So it has been a long journey, but that's all part of the process. Who else would like to share?
Travis, I'm not sure if you can see with your slideshow up, but we have two other ones. Jess mentions the chat box on the Lumens homepage, and then
Okay.
also using Scribe, if you want to mention a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Both great examples. We've got an AI chat bot running on the Lumens homepage, the Business and Community Services website, to help answer student inquiries around the clock. And that's been very positive outcomes from that so far. We're doing a similar thing in Brightspace. And then Olivia using Scribe. Scribe is a awesome tool. We're seeing more use of that in various areas. So we may need to kind of look into maybe having that be a tool a little bit more institutionally used in a lot of different areas. So definitely great for cross training and keeping people all on the same page. And Renee, yes, processes, making sure that, we're leveraging our various tools and staying out of spreadsheets with piles of information and fancy colors and things. So absolutely.
I've got one more from student services, just innovating how work study is portrayed to our students. And so now it's self-employment or student employment, and how we've gone through changes with how they can apply now for students or for student employment. And then also thanks to Olivia and everybody that helped out with this process of now using an e-form. So now everybody from supervisor down can see where we're at with their student employment opportunities.
Absolutely. We've got a couple more flowing into the chat as well. Teresa indicating that using Reach to put student issues to keep everyone on the same page. That's definitely a great one. And Aaron sharing utilizing Notebook LM for podcast and video summaries of a newsletter, CBE course development, and the REACH implementation, all from the Title III grant. So lots and lots of awesome examples there. And by the way, if you're curious about Notebook LM, we do have an upcoming training session about that. I think we had a similar session last Friday, and we opened some eyes to that particular tool and definitely some interest in that. So if you're curious about that, basically creating a subject matter expert on the documents you use every day, it's definitely a really interesting and fun tool to use. Awesome. Thank you all so much for chiming in. I will call on you some more as we go, but I appreciate that. So let's connect back to our strategic priorities and innovation. And Aaron is probably looking at this and be like, there's more than three. And that's on purpose. We'll get to that in a moment. But if we connect innovation back to our strategic priorities, let's look first at empowering learners. So innovation, it creates those pathways for every student to succeed. And it removes barriers for personalizing support. So a great example of that in the chat was, using a support chat bot. So, even if it's after hours or 3 in the morning, which I guess technically is after hours, someone can answer that question. Someone can help the student, point them in the right direction, or refer them to the right person if the bot is unable to answer. Also amplifying community partnerships. Innovation keeps our programs aligned with employer needs, not only here in Northeast Iowa, but around the globe, and also through our community growth. And then we saw processes show up multiple times in the chat and brought up as well. Innovation ensures our processes are efficient, purposeful, and student-centered. So what's the one I'm missing? Revitalize our culture. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's get some more answers in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute as well. What connection to the strategic priority of revitalizing our culture does innovation serve, from your thoughts? While you're thinking, I can start us off. I would say from my perspective, as far as culture and mindset and morale standpoint, I feel like it can be very energizing to innovate. It kind of gives you a purpose each day, to come up with an idea, throw it out there, see if it sticks, and be a part of that learning process. Maybe it won't work out, but it can be really energizing to just go through the process and share those ideas.
Travis, we take Zoom and remote learning and instruction for granted at this point, but I remember a time in 2019 when that wasn't the case. And the need to go remote and to meet the needs of our learners was probably an existential need of the colleges at the time. And I just think that the way that was accomplished was probably close to the gold standard when it comes to showing how an innovative approach can bear fruit day to day.
For sure. Thank you, Seth. Olivia chimes in the chat. Innovation means some sort of change. So positive innovation can build cross-department trust and collaboration. Definitely. And Aaron indicates our second objective for Revitalize Our Culture is about boosting operational efficiencies, which innovation will certainly be a part of. And maybe Scribe will be a part of that. We'll see. Katie brings up a fantastic point. We can't innovate alone. We need our teams in collaboration. Definitely. I'll leave you open for one more example. I know you've got it in you.
I'll throw one out there, Travis. I think it
Thanks,
keeps
Mike.
our jobs interesting. If I was doing the same thing I was doing 8 years ago when I started, I'd be pretty bored probably. So I think having the opportunity to innovate, gives you a reason to come to work, kind of like what you said. It's, it's exciting. It's, it's not just the baseline of doing the same thing every day.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. What would the website look like if it still was stuck in multiple years ago?
I can't even imagine.
Fantastic. So let's go ahead and just, kind of look at a few examples. We've done a lot of awesome examples, in the chat, and thank you all for your participation there. But this is going to kind of reiterate. I'm glad that we're having this conversation today, and I'm glad this is matching up with examples here. But you know, we want to, certainly identify inefficiencies, like Katie said in the chat, working collaboratively to spotlight what are those bottlenecks that are slowing down our students, and even our work as employees, and kind of addressing those. And then taking a look at those small changes. We've talked about streamlined forms multiple times, which is awesome. Maybe combining communications, sharing different templates, things like that. Collaborating on solutions, certainly working together in that collaboration to just have diverse perspectives, and not be working in silos. The word silos used to come up pretty frequently in discussions. Maybe I'm in the wrong discussions now, but I feel like that word has kind of gone away at NICC a little bit. So, we'll keep working on that, but that's been a good thing to see. And then measuring impact. This is a really big thing because the college wants to be more data informed. Uh, Aaron is doing a fantastic job tracking the various strategic initiatives, and we'll have some exciting things to share on that in the future. But I think it is really important for us as a college to somehow track that, and um, indicate what these small innovations we're doing each day are doing and how they're influencing the college. And I think a great opportunity for that is actually through the HLC visit that'll be coming up. So you can kind of see how all of this, kind of balls together a little bit. So now let's get back into the chat again. Hopefully you're ready for some more participation here. This time we're going to do it a little bit differently. In the chat box, I'd like you to just type out one challenge in your team or maybe in your daily work that you could really benefit from just a little bit of NICC innovation. So I want you to just type in the box. Don't hit send quite yet. But again, just type out a challenge on your team or something that you do that maybe needs a little bit of that NICC innovation. And then I'll give you just a moment here to type, and then I'll count down and we'll all hit send at the same time and see what we've come up with here. So what are those pain points that you run into each day? Maybe something that could be streamlined a little bit, or something you feel that working with another group could really move the needle and make it happen. All right, I'm going to go ahead and count down. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and hit send. Let's see some stuff flow in here. We've got a couple things. Fantastic. Nice. All right. You can keep them flowing in if you'd like, but I'm just going to kind of go down the list here. Training on new products. Yes, that can definitely be a challenge. Getting the right information from the right people. Communication. Determining return on investment for various campaigns. Reviewing processes. Data. Having a backup when you need to be away. Absolutely. Communication. I think we're seeing some trends here. Communication, tracking students. Yep. So the interesting part about a lot of these is we've seen some examples earlier that it is possible to innovate in those ways. We might need a solutions crew to get together after this to start building some of this. All right, I'm actually going to capture this list and set it off on the side here. So 1 second here. Perfect. Thanks for bearing with me there. So I think, the first part, kind of an ongoing, maybe somewhat of a joke, but also the reality is, the first part of solving a problem is admitting that you have one. So, you know, indicating that you have a pain point in your job is also the first step to innovation. So we'll dive into that here next. So this is kind of your opportunity. You've recognized that challenge. Some of these uh, some of these are probably relatively simple to at least take a step toward resolving, which is good. So we're gonna get our minds kind of going down that track now. We've identified, a problem or an opportunity in front of us. So now we want to take some type of a step forward to remove that barrier. Maybe we can save a little bit of time and things like that. But ultimately, like we focused on throughout the entire duration of this morning, is the importance of that kind of collaboration. Knowing that a quick win in your area, we have some groups already documenting processes. We have people streamlining their forms and working with one another. And then we have some other people in the chat that want to do those same things. So let's bring it on home here and bring these two things together. So now in the chat, or you can unmute, you're welcome to speak up as well. How about identifying just one simple process or a habit that you could change just in the next week or so? Maybe that's changing your meeting structure. Maybe you need to join a committee. Work on simplifying a form, experimenting with some new technology that NICC has access to. What are some of those ideas? Feel free to throw those out there in the chat, or you can unmute.
Something I do um is I'll review like the forms that I get because I get quite a bit of forms on the payroll side, and if there's any fields that like aren't used by anyone, I'll just ask them to be taken off because then it's less time for people typing stuff in and less like data for me to work through. Or if there's a field I'm like, oh, I would really love to have that, I would just make sure it's good with everyone, and it's usually welcomed to have that on there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thanks, Olivia, for unmuting and sharing.
Something that takes time and that we're actually working through, but which would help track your students, is we are trying to get all the students into Reach so that you can see every single thing that they touch. But it does take time. And, if anybody has any ideas on, how to structure that data so that you can view it easier, that is definitely what we're looking for in Reach. We've got lumens, we've got colleague students, we've got prospects in there. We're trying to get more and more students in there, but sometimes you have all that data and then you don't know how to look at it. So that's definitely what we're looking for ideas is I can show you where all the students are. I just don't know how you want to see it.
Yeah, that collaboration and in getting the input together. How would someone best approach that specific challenge with you, Nicole? Should they reach out directly to you, um, or what do you feel is a good avenue for sharing those types of things?
Yeah, so when I get ideas like that, I do put them in plain for a group of us to look at, and then we determine, which ones we're going to focus on first. But, having ideas thrown to me in email it's never going to hurt my feelings. It's never going to make me upset. I will read it and I will do something with it. You just might not see it until we're to the point where we're going to implement it. So please email me if you have ideas about better ways to view the data because it's there. And more will be there. I just don't know how people want to see it. What I want to see and what you want to see are probably two totally different things because I don't work with students. So I definitely, email me those ideas and I'll get a group together and we'll figure it out.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Let's go through the chat here a little bit. Danielle mentions recognizing a student issue and providing more support. Monica has an example from the BCS retreat last week. We learned about lean. I'm not familiar with that. Monica, will you share a little bit about that? Is that lean process? Is that
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
So lean process is when you try to pretty much clean processes. So like what Nicole was just saying, things that you do, you keep doing throughout your work, but you you see that you're doubling your work or you're having extra forms, like Olivia said, that actually you don't really use them, or they are not, they should be not part of your process. Like I'm operations, okay? So for example, things that I go through my day and I say, okay, why am I doing this again? Because, whatever reason. So lean is a process that will streamline the operational, or it can be anything, can be a meeting, can be registrations to get them more like more straightforward, than with minimal effort, but getting the same results or even better results. That's what lean is about. So
Okay.
like you go through everyday tasks and then you say, okay, from my everyday tasks, all of this that I do, I can, make this better or make that better. For example, one good example, I put it student materials when they have orientation for classes. So for probably a whole year that I'm doing, I get all these materials ahead of time. So when I have free time, I just put the materials together, books, textbooks, and then folders, and then forms, and then whatever else. And then I put them together already, and I put everything in a box. And then the only thing I need to do is to get syllabus if there is a student that missed orientation or another student that needs this, but the materials are done and ready. So instead of me trying to put everything together while a student's coming or while the instructor say I'm having a orientation now, I pulled from the box everything ready and I'm done. This is what lean means.
Nice. Nice.
That's why.
For those interested in kind of learning more, who kind of delivered that session?
This was Greg Wheeling. Oh,
Okay.
okay, let me get his
Greg
name. His
W.
name, yes. Oh my God. And Allison. So they work for the sales group. She's up north and he's here at PCC. So they're the ones who really study a little bit more about it, and they were doing the presentation. I thought it was incredible because you can use that in any application, any division throughout the college, and it really makes sense if you think about it, just to make your life easier, and then to make sure the work flows goes easily on everybody, and the results are the same or even better. So
Sure. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So
you're
if
welcome.
anyone's interested in that, you've got some direction there. And continuing down the chat, Renee mentions implementing Notebook LM. So another shout out to that particular tool. Feel free to reach out if anyone is interested in exploring that. And again, we've got the training session coming up. I want to say it's in November sometime, but I'll have to double check that. Also organizing files, that's always fun. Some spring cleaning digitally to make sure you've got everything in the right spot and it's accessible and all that fun stuff. Teresa's got a great example. Again, that collaboration, that communicating with other departments about processes that benefit or impact their department. So yeah, absolutely. And then Dawn brings up one of our best collaborative tools beyond Zoom and beyond email is using My Campus to interact with our students and staff. There is a lot of opportunity in My Campus to have groups and targeted communications and things like that. So it can be a fantastic way to connect with people, get people together, and start with the innovative ideas that you've all come up with. So as we get to kind of the last little bit here of the innovation presentation, did want to just give you a challenge. Innovate this week. You know, we've identified some areas of, you know, picking a process, asking, not being in the status quo. Is there a more efficient, collaborative, or interesting way to go about the things that you do? And the slide here actually says, don't wait for permission. Well, in some instances, you may need to get permission, but I will emphasize, don't wait for perfection. Making a mistake is all part of the process. It's how we learn, it's how we grow, and it's how that innovation gets sparked. But you know, be sure to bring people with you along for the ride and through that process, and adjust as you go. Innovation doesn't happen overnight. It's, you know, taking those small steps each and every day. Did want to give a little shout out. Aaron in the chat mentioned that Seth has also gone through the lean process review. Thank you. I appreciate that. So definitely can lean on his expertise there as well. And then, you know, remember that innovation at NICC, you know, it means being responsive in our programs, removing barriers in our delivery, and building efficiency. So we didn't talk a whole lot about kind of the classroom work today, but always need to kind of keep that in mind. So with that being said, I just want to look through and make sure I didn't miss anything in my notes here. Yeah, I think we got it there. So in the word cloud earlier, Silicon Valley popped up. So I do have a little bit of a nod to that area of the country. One more thing was a phrase that was often used by Steve Jobs at Apple when they unveiled products. And I had this in my notes. I'm going to throw it in there. This is back when Apple was still innovative. Anyway, but one more thing, you know, is often associated with a surprise, innovative launch. And it's just a great indicator that innovation is not just a value, but it's a launch pad for future success. So I do have one more thing today just to kind of tease a little bit of an opportunity to spark innovation and growth, not only for us as employees, but also for our students. And that item is Google Career Certificates. We have some great resources, again, that'll be available to employees and also to students in various things. Now, some of these are a little bit more on the tech side, but some great opportunities. But there are some things that each and all of us could use, things like project management and digital marketing and those all important AI skills. So really, we're starting to kind of review these materials and look through them. From the AI perspective in general, we have a group of people going through the Google courses in AI, things like AI Essentials, which is a great introductory way to jump into the world of AI. And it ties nicely, of course, with their Google products, which we all have access to, Gemini and Notebook LM. And then it offers an opportunity to kind of take a step further and learn how to prompt better and grow in that way. So we do have that coming on the horizon soon. So I did want to share that. And all of these will be absolutely free to students and employees. And that's through a collaboration with Google, of course, and also community colleges for Iowa and the Iowa Department of Education. Our K-12 schools also have access to all of these materials. So again, entirely free. We'll have some more information probably for employees before the end of the year related to getting access to these materials. You can feel free to reach out to me if you have a lot of interest and want to jump into something right away. And then we have a group kind of looking at where this fits from the student perspective as well. So definitely stay tuned to the News Hub for more information on that. And, certainly is a fantastic opportunity to spark that innovation and learn something new and grow. So I do want to leave some time for any questions or comments that you have, but do want to thank you all for your incredible engagement this morning. I appreciate you sticking with me and for typing things in the chat and for speaking up. I really appreciate that. And then also don't forget to participate in the respect activity. So we've got the QR code on the screen. And then all the way towards the top of the chat, Aaron also has a link to the respect story. I will go ahead and repost that so it's down at the bottom of the chat for you. So you're welcome to share your respect story as well. And I will tease also an Innovate activity for the college is currently under construction. So hopefully we'll have something for that in the near future. So that being said, I'll open up for any questions or comments. Otherwise, you can enjoy the rest of your day and your noontime lunch or nap, whichever you prefer.
Thanks, Travis.
Yep, you're welcome.
Travis, yeah, I'll thank you on behalf of everybody. I'm hiding out on Olivia's screen. I had some troubles in my own office, but terrific presentation. And I hope people feel like they can reach out to you if they've got questions or additional comments. But thank you for your willingness to present today. If there are others on the call who are interested in doing something like that, we're always interested in hearing about that. We'll leave it open here up to the point where there's nobody speaking, and then we'll close the call out. But thank each of you for being on the call. We look forward to seeing you at future training events.
So thank you to Seth for, coordinating these value series speaking events, and for Travis for doing an amazing job. But also thank you to all of you, because we can't innovate if we don't have these kinds of conversations with each other and show up and raise our hand and say, yes, we want to talk about different ways of doing things and work together and collaborate. So thank you so much for coming to this. This is an awesome turnout.
And definitely reach out to each other. Seems like there's a lot of interest in particular with this group, but probably a wider audience as well in working together. So don't be afraid to speak up and let the ideas fly.
Okay, well, thanks again, everyone. Have a great day. Travis, thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yep.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.